Sophia sat by the small, dimly lit window of their modest apartment, watching the rain trickle down the glass. The rhythmic patter was a sad melody that mirrored her feelings. Mateo, her 3-year-old son, played quietly with his worn-out toy car, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside his mother's heart. 3 years ago, Luis had left Sophia for a younger woman, abandoning her and their newborn son. The betrayal had been a sharp knife to her heart, but she had no time to mourn. Her love for Mateo fueled her strength, and she threw herself into the role of a single mother with unwavering dedication. "Mommy, look." Mateo's voice broke her reverie. He held up his toy car, a bright smile lighting up his innocent face. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Sophia replied, forcing a smile. Her heart ached seeing the joy in his eyes, knowing she could barely afford to keep a roof over their heads. The town they lived in was small, with limited opportunities. Sophia worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses during the day and waitressing at a diner by night. Despite her efforts, money was always tight. The eviction notice she had received that morning weighed heavily on her mind. If she didn't come up with the rent soon, they would be out on the streets. Determined to do everything she could for Mateo, Sophia decided to confront Luis. She needed his help, even though she dreaded the encounter. She found him at his new apartment, living comfortably with his new partner. "Luis, we need to talk," she began, trying to keep her voice steady. He looked at her with a mix of annoyance and indifference. "What do you want, Sophia?" "We need child support." "Mateo is your son, too," she pleaded. Luis sighed, shaking his head. "I have a new life now. Talk to my lawyer if you want money." The coldness in his voice crushed her. How could he be so indifferent to their child's well-being? With a heavy heart, she left, knowing she was on her own. As she walked back home, the weight of her situation pressed down on her. The eviction notice seemed to mock her from her purse. She couldn't let Mateo suffer because of Luis's abandonment. Later that night, as she tucked Mateo into bed, he looked up at her with his big, trusting eyes. "Mommy, will we always be together?" Sophia swallowed the lump in her throat and kissed his forehead. "Always, my love. I promise." She sat by his bedside, watching him fall asleep, her heart filled with both love and determination. She had to find a way to keep them together, no matter what. The next day, Sophia spent her lunch break making calls and searching for any possible solution. She reached out to charities, looked into government assistance, and even considered selling the few valuables she had left. But every option seemed to fall short. That evening, as she served coffee at the diner, her mind raced with worries. The regular customers noticed her distracted state. Mrs. Rivera, an elderly woman who frequented the diner, gently touched Sophia's hand as she refilled her cup. "Everything all right, dear?" Mrs. Rivera asked, her eyes filled with concern. Sophia forced a smile. "Just a bit tired, that's all." Mrs. Rivera patted her hand reassuringly. "You're a strong woman, Sophia. Don't forget that." When her shift ended, Sophia walked home through the quiet streets, the weight of the eviction notice still heavy in her pocket. She looked up at the night sky, stars barely visible through the city lights, and made a silent vow to herself and to Mateo. "We will get through this," she whispered, her voice firm despite the tears that threatened to spill. "No matter what it takes, we will get through this." As she entered their apartment, she paused for a moment, taking in the small, familiar space. It wasn't much, but it was home. And she would do everything in her power to keep it that way. Sophia fell asleep that night with a renewed sense of determination. The road ahead was uncertain, but she knew one thing for sure: she would never give up on Mateo. He was her light, her hope, and the reason she fought so hard every single day. The morning sun peeked through the thin curtains of their modest apartment, casting a warm glow over the small living room. Sophia stood at the kitchen counter, preparing breakfast. She glanced at Mateo, who was busy dribbling a small soccer ball across the worn carpet, his eyes shining with excitement. "Mom, guess what?" Mateo's voice was filled with enthusiasm as he kicked the ball toward her. Carlos told me about this local football club. They practice every day after school. Can I join, please? Sophia paused, her heart aching at the thought of disappointing her son. Money was tight, and she knew that enrolling him in the club would be an additional financial burden. But the joy in Mateo's eyes gave her strength. That sounds amazing, Mateo, she said, smiling as she handed him a plate of scrambled eggs. Let me see what I can do, okay? Mateo's face lit up with hope. Thanks, Mom. I promise I'll be the best player ever. As he devoured his breakfast, Sophia's mind raced with possibilities. She had already stretched their budget to the limit, but she couldn't bear to see Mateo's dreams crushed. After breakfast, she sat down at the small kitchen table, her gaze drifting to the jewelry box on the shelf. Inside was her late mother's necklace, a cherished heirloom that held countless memories. Taking a deep breath, Sophia made up her mind. She carefully took the necklace from its box, feeling the weight of her decision. It was a precious piece of her past, but Mateo's future was worth more. She knew what she had to do. That afternoon, Sophia visited a local pawn shop. The bell above the door jingled as she entered, and the shopkeeper looked up with a curious expression. Good afternoon, he greeted her. How can I help you today? Sophia held up the necklace, her fingers trembling slightly. I'd like to sell this, she said. The shopkeeper examined the necklace, nodding appreciatively. This is a beautiful piece. I'll give you a fair price for it. As he counted out the money, Sophia felt a mix of sadness and resolve. She was letting go of a piece of her past to secure Mateo's future. It was a sacrifice she was willing to make. With the money in hand, Sophia headed straight to the local football club. The sound of children laughing and playing filled the air, and she felt a glimmer of hope. She approached the registration desk, where a friendly-looking coach greeted her. Hello, how can I assist you? The coach asked. I'm here to enroll my son, Mateo, in the football club, Sophia replied, her heart pounding with anticipation. The coach smiled warmly. Great. We're always excited to welcome new players. Just fill out these forms, and we'll get him started. Sophia filled out the forms with meticulous care, feeling a sense of accomplishment as she handed them back. She had done it. Mateo's dream was within reach. That evening, she picked Mateo up from school, unable to contain her excitement. Mateo, guess what? She said, her eyes sparkling with joy. What, Mom? Mateo asked, his curiosity piqued. You're officially enrolled in the football club, she announced. Mateo's face lit up with pure happiness. He threw his arms around her, hugging her tightly. Thank you, Mom. This is the best news ever. As they walked home, Mateo chattered excitedly about his future in football. Sophia listened with a full heart, grateful for the moment of hope and joy. Over the next few weeks, Mateo threw himself into football with relentless passion. Sophia watched with pride as he practiced every day, his skills improving rapidly. He made new friends, including Lucas, whose mother, Mrs. Ortega, often stayed to watch the practices. One day, as Sophia chatted with Mrs. Ortega, she felt a renewed sense of community and support. Mateo is doing so well, Mrs. Ortega remarked, smiling warmly. You must be very proud. I am, Sophia replied, her voice filled with emotion. He's worked so hard, and it's all he talks about. Mrs. Ortega nodded, her eyes kind. It takes a strong and loving parent to support their child's dreams like you do, Sophia. As the weeks turned into months, Mateo continued to thrive in the football club. Sophia's sacrifices had not been in vain. Each time she saw her son on the field, his face glowing with happiness and determination, she knew that every challenge, every hardship, was worth it. The crisp autumn air filled the football field as children practiced, their laughter echoing across the grounds. Mateo, with his bright smile and boundless energy, stood out among them. Sophia watched from the sidelines, her heart swelling with pride as he deftly maneuvered the ball, scoring goal after goal. Mom, did you see that? Mateo ran over, his face flushed with excitement. I did, sweetheart. You were amazing. Sophia replied, hugging him tightly. Yet, beneath her joy, a worry gnawed at her. The championship was approaching, and Matteo needed a proper uniform. The worn-out clothes he currently wore wouldn't suffice. That evening, as they walked home, Matteo chattered excitedly about the upcoming match. Mom, Coach says if we win the championship, scouts from the national team might notice us. Sophia smiled, but her mind was elsewhere. How could she afford the uniform? Her recent expenses had already stretched their budget thin. She couldn't bear to dampen Matteo's excitement with her concerns. The next day, Sophia arrived at the field early, hoping to talk to the coach about possible alternatives. As she waited, Mrs. Ortega, Lucas' mother, approached her. "Hello, Sophia. How are you?" Mrs. Ortega greeted warmly. "I'm well, thank you." Just a bit worried about the upcoming championship, Sophia admitted. Mrs. Ortega gave her a knowing look. "Is it about the uniform?" Sophia nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. "Yes. Matteo's so excited, but I don't know how I'll afford it." Mrs. Ortega placed a comforting hand on Sophia's arm. "Sophia, you're a wonderful mother. Matteo is lucky to have you. Let me help." Before Sophia could protest, Mrs. Ortega continued, "I insist. Consider it a gift for Matteo's hard work and dedication." The following week, Mrs. Ortega handed Matteo a beautifully wrapped package after practice. "Matteo, this is for you," she said, smiling warmly. Matteo's eyes widened in surprise. "What is it?" "Open it and see," Mrs. Ortega urged. With trembling hands, Matteo unwrapped the package to reveal a brand new football uniform. His eyes sparkled with joy. "Thank you so much. This is amazing." Sophia, watching nearby, felt tears of gratitude well up in her eyes. She approached Mrs. Ortega, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to us." Mrs. Ortega simply smiled. Seeing Matteo happy is thanks enough. With renewed confidence, Matteo's team went on to win a local match that weekend. The victory bolstered their spirits and brought them one step closer to the championship. As Matteo celebrated with his teammates, Sophia stood by, her heart filled with hope and gratitude. "Mom, we did it. We're going to the championship," Matteo exclaimed, running to her with his new uniform shining in the afternoon sun. "You were incredible, Matteo," Sophia said, hugging him tightly. "I'm so proud of you." Matteo's joy was infectious. Sophia felt a glimmer of hope for the future. The challenges they faced were daunting, but with the support of kind-hearted people like Mrs. Ortega, they could overcome anything. In the quiet of their apartment, Sophia tucked Matteo into bed, her heart lightened by the day's events. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "Always believe in your dreams, Matteo. Together, we can achieve anything." As Matteo drifted off to sleep, Sophia sat by his bedside, a sense of peace washing over her. The road ahead might still be difficult, but with the love and support surrounding them, she knew they would find a way through. The crisp morning air was filled with excitement and anticipation. The capital city awaited, a place of dreams and possibilities. Sophia stood at the edge of the field, her heart swelling with pride as she watched Matteo lead the team with unwavering determination. "Mom, can you believe it? We're really going to the championship." Matteo's eyes sparkled with excitement as he jogged over during a break. "I can believe it, sweetheart. You've worked so hard for this," Sophia replied, her smile radiant but her mind clouded with worry. The trip to the capital would be expensive, and she had already stretched their finances thin. As practice ended, Sophia approached the coach to confirm the details of the trip. "Coach, do you have a final cost estimate for the trip?" The coach nodded, handing her a printed sheet. "This should cover transportation, lodging, and meals for the team. We're trying to keep it as affordable as possible." Sophia scanned the paper, her heart sinking as she calculated the total. It was more than she had anticipated. She thanked the coach and walked home with Matteo, her mind racing with possible solutions. That evening, after Matteo had gone to bed, Sophia sat at the kitchen table, staring at her latest paycheck. It wasn't enough. She took a deep breath and made a decision. She would spend her entire salary on the trip, ensuring Matteo had the chance to compete. But it still wasn't enough. She needed more. The next day at work, Sophia approached her boss, Mr. Gonzalez, with a determined look. "Mr. Gonzalez, I'd like to request some extra hours, if possible. I need to save up for an important trip for my son." Mr. Gonzalez looked up from his paperwork, his expression thoughtful. "Sophia, you're one of our best employees. I know things have been tough for you. We could use some help on the weekend shifts. Would that work for you?" Sophia's heart leapt with gratitude. "Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzalez." As she left his office, a sense of relief washed over her. The extra hours would provide the temporary financial relief she needed. She could make this work. That evening, she shared the news with Matteo. "Mom, you're the best. I can't wait to play in the Capitol," Matteo said, hugging her tightly. Sophia held him close, her voice filled with emotion. "I'm so proud of you, Matteo. You deserve this opportunity, and I'll do everything I can to support you." In the days leading up to the trip, Sophia worked tirelessly, taking on the extra hours and ensuring every detail was planned. The community also rallied around them. Mrs. Ortega helped with organizing a small fundraiser at the local market, where neighbors donated what they could. On the morning of their departure, the team gathered at the local bus station. Parents and friends waved goodbye, their faces full of hope and pride. Sophia stood with Matteo, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Ready for this, champ?" she asked, ruffling his hair. "Ready as ever, Mom," Matteo replied, his confidence infectious. As the bus pulled away, Sophia watched the familiar town fade into the distance. The capital city, with its towering buildings and bustling streets, represented more than just a destination. It was a place where dreams could come true. Arriving in the capital, the team settled into their accommodations. The city was overwhelming, with its endless noise and activity, but Matteo's excitement never wavered. They spent the evening exploring, Sophia pointing out landmarks from her own childhood memories of the city. The next day, the championship began. The stadium buzzed with energy as teams from across the country gathered to compete. Sophia sat in the stands, her heart in her throat as Matteo took the field. She cheered with all her might, her pride in her son outshining every worry. The match was intense, each goal met with roars of excitement. Matteo played with fierce determination, his new uniform a symbol of hope and possibility. The stadium erupted in cheers as the final whistle blew. Matteo's team had won the championship, and the victory felt surreal. Sophia rushed onto the field, her heart pounding with pride and joy. She embraced Matteo, tears streaming down her face. "You did it, Matteo. You really did it," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with emotion. Matteo grinned, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "We did it, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." As they celebrated, a man in a sharp suit approached them. He introduced himself as Mr. Hernandez, a talent scout for the national team. "Matteo, your performance was outstanding. We'd like to offer you a place on the national youth team." Matteo's eyes widened in disbelief. "Really? I can't believe it." Sophia's heart swelled with pride. "Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. This means the world to us." Mr. Hernandez smiled warmly. "Your son has a bright future ahead. We'll be in touch with the details." The days that followed were a whirlwind of excitement and preparation. The offer from the national team meant they would need to move to the capital, where Matteo would train and attend school. Sophia felt a mixture of joy and anxiety about the changes ahead. "Mom, are you sure about this?" Matteo asked one evening, sensing her unease. Sophia smiled reassuringly. It's a big change, but it's an incredible opportunity for you. I'm so proud of you, and we'll face this new chapter together." With determination, Sophia began packing their belongings and making arrangements for the move. She also applied for teaching positions in the capital, hoping to find a stable job that would support them both. On their last day in their small town, neighbors and friends gathered to say goodbye. Mrs. Ortega hugged Sophia tightly. "You've been an inspiration to all of us, Sophia. We'll miss you both." "We'll miss you too," Sophia replied, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for everything." The move to the capital was daunting but filled with promise. The city was vast and bustling, a stark contrast to their quiet town. They settled into a modest apartment near Mateo's new school and training facility. Sophia marveled at the opportunities that lay ahead. Shortly after their arrival, Sophia received good news. She had been offered a teaching position at a local school. The stability of the job eased her worries, and she felt a renewed sense of purpose. One afternoon, as Sophia prepared dinner, Mateo burst into the apartment, his face alight with excitement. "Mom, guess what? I've been offered a sponsorship deal." Sophia turned to him, astonished. "A sponsorship deal? That's incredible, Mateo. Tell me more." Mateo explained, his words tumbling out in a rush. "A sportswear company wants to sponsor me. They'll provide my gear and even pay for some of my expenses. This will help us so much." Sophia hugged him tightly, tears of joy in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you, Mateo. You're achieving your dreams, and it's just the beginning." The sponsorship deal brought additional financial support, easing their transition into city life. Mateo thrived in his new environment, balancing his rigorous training with schoolwork. Sophia found fulfillment in her teaching job, forming connections with her students and colleagues. As weeks turned into months, Sophia and Mateo embraced their new life. They navigated challenges together, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. The capital city, once a daunting unknown, became a place of opportunity and growth. The bustling streets of the capital city were a far cry from the quiet life Sophia and Mateo had left behind. The sounds of car horns and chatter filled the air as Sophia navigated her way home from the market, bags of groceries in hand. She felt a sense of accomplishment, having managed to stretch her budget to cover their needs for the week. As she turned a corner, a sudden force yanked her purse from her shoulder. "Hey!" she shouted, stumbling as the thief bolted down the street. Panic surged through her as she realized all their money and important documents were in that purse. "Stop him!" Sophia's voice was desperate, but the crowded street seemed indifferent to her plight. Just then, a tall man in his 40s, with an athletic build and kind eyes, sprang into action. He chased the thief with surprising speed, catching up to him in no time. With a swift move, he tackled the thief to the ground, retrieving the purse. "Let go of me," the thief protested, but the man held firm. "Not a chance," he replied sternly, handing the purse back to Sophia as she approached, breathless. "Thank you so much," Sophia said, her voice trembling with relief. "I don't know what I would have done without your help." "You're welcome." "My name's Marco," he said, offering a warm smile as he helped her gather her scattered groceries. "I'm Sophia," she replied, still shaken but grateful. "I can't thank you enough, Marco. You saved me." "It's no trouble at all," Marco said, waving off her thanks. "Let me walk you home, just to be safe." They chatted about the city, their lives, and she found herself laughing at his witty remarks and stories. When they reached her apartment, Mateo burst through the door. "Mom, you're home." "Who's this?" "This is Marco. He helped me when someone tried to steal my purse," Sophia explained. "Wow, thank you, Mr. Marco," Mateo said, his eyes wide with admiration. Marco chuckled. "It was my pleasure." Over the next few weeks, Marco's presence became a comforting fixture in their lives. He often stopped by to check on them, bringing small gifts or simply offering his company. Sophia found herself looking forward to his visits, appreciating the warmth and security he brought. One evening, Marco invited them to a local cafe. As they chatted, Matteo's curiosity got the better of him. "Marco, you seem to know a lot about football. Did you play?" Marco smiled, a twinkle in his eye. "I did, actually. I played professionally before I retired." Matteo's jaw dropped. "No way. Who did you play for?" Marco leaned back, enjoying the moment. "I played for the national team and a few international clubs. It was a great experience." Matteo was awestruck. "That's incredible. Can you teach me some tricks?" "Of course," Marco said warmly. "I'd be happy to share what I know." Sophia watched the exchange with a mixture of pride and joy. Marco had not only helped her in a moment of crisis, but had also become a mentor to Matteo. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day, filled with laughter, learning, and mutual respect. As the evening drew to a close, Marco walked them back home. "Thank you for a wonderful evening," Sophia said, her smile reflecting the happiness she felt. "The pleasure was all mine," Marco replied, his gaze lingering on her for a moment longer. "You both have brought a lot of joy into my life." Sophia's heart warmed at his words. She felt a connection with Marco that went beyond gratitude. It was the beginning of something special, a friendship that had the potential to blossom into something even more meaningful. In the days that followed, Sophia often found herself thinking about Marco, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed, and the kindness that seemed to radiate from him. She realized that in a city full of strangers, she had found a true friend. And perhaps, just maybe, something more. The crisp autumn air was filled with the sounds of children playing and the distant hum of city life. Sophia stood on the balcony of their apartment, savoring a rare moment of peace. Matteo was at football practice, and she had a few hours to herself. Her thoughts wandered to Marco and the growing friendship that had brought so much joy into their lives. Just then, she heard familiar voices from the street below. Peering over the railing, she saw Marco walking with a woman she didn't recognize. They were laughing, their conversation punctuated by playful nudges and shared smiles. Sophia's heart sank. Who was this woman, and what did she mean to Marco? That evening, as Marco arrived for their usual dinner together, Sophia's demeanor was noticeably colder. "Sophia, is everything all right?" Marco asked, sensing the tension. "Everything's fine," Sophia replied curtly, avoiding his gaze. She busied herself with setting the table, her mind racing with unanswered questions. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia found herself distancing from Marco. She threw herself into her work in Matteo's budding football career, trying to drown out the gnawing suspicion that had taken root in her heart. Every time Marco tried to reach out, she found an excuse to avoid him. That evening, determined to find the truth, Sophia walked to Marco's apartment. She hesitated at the door, her heart pounding. Summoning her courage, she knocked. Marco opened the door, surprise and relief washing over his face. "Sophia, I'm so glad you're here. We need to talk," he said, stepping aside to let her in. Inside, the woman Sophia had seen with Marco was sitting on the couch, sipping tea. She looked up and smiled warmly. "You must be Sophia. Marco has told me so much about you." Sophia felt a pang of confusion. "And you are?" "I'm Isabel, Marco's sister," the woman said, standing up to shake Sophia's hand. Relief and embarrassment flooded Sophia at once. "His sister," she echoed, her cheeks flushing. I thought." Marco chuckled softly, the tension melting away. "Sophia, I should have introduced you two earlier. Isabel was visiting for a few weeks, and I wanted to spend some time with her. I'm sorry if it caused any misunderstanding." Sophia felt tears of relief prickling her eyes. "I'm the one who should apologize. I jumped to conclusions without talking to you." Marco stepped closer, his eyes gentle. "It's all right, Sophia. Let's put this behind us. I value our friendship too much to let a misunderstanding come between us." Sophia nodded, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Thank you, Marco. And I'm sorry, Isabel, for my behavior. Isabel smiled warmly. No harm done. I'm just glad we cleared things up. The three of them spent the evening chatting and laughing, the air filled with newfound understanding and camaraderie. As Sophia and Marco walked back to her apartment later, she felt a renewed sense of connection with him. I'm really sorry for everything, Marco, she said quietly. Don't be, he replied, taking her hand. We all make mistakes. What matters is that we learn from them and move forward. Sophia squeezed his hand, grateful for his understanding and patience. As they reached her door, she turned to him with a smile. Thank you, Marco. For everything. He smiled back. Anytime, Sophia. Anytime. The stadium was alive with the buzz of excitement as Mateo's team prepared for another crucial match. The stands were filled with cheering fans, parents, and friends, all eager to witness the young talents on the field. Sophia sat nervously, her eyes glued to Mateo as he warmed up with his teammates. Mom, did you see that? Mateo ran over, his face glowing with enthusiasm. We're going to win today, I can feel it. I know you will, sweetheart. Just play your best, Sophia replied, hugging him tightly. She looked around, hoping to spot Marco. Despite their recent reconciliation, she hadn't seen him in a while, and she missed his reassuring presence. As the match began, Sophia's heart raced with every play. Mateo was a star on the field, his skill and determination evident with every move. Suddenly, a familiar voice beside her made her jump. He's incredible, isn't he? Sophia turned to see Marco standing there, his eyes filled with admiration. Marco, she exclaimed, a mixture of relief and happiness washing over her. Of course, I wouldn't miss this for the world, Marco replied, taking a seat next to her. They watched the game in comfortable silence, the tension of the past few weeks dissolving in the shared joy of the moment. As the final whistle blew, signaling Mateo's team's victory, the crowd erupted in cheers. Mateo ran to his mother, lifting his arms in triumph. We did it, Mom. We won. I'm so proud of you, Mateo. Sophia said, her voice thick with emotion. Marco stepped forward, clapping Mateo on the back. Great game, champ. You were amazing out there. Thanks, Marco. Mateo beamed, his face glowing with pride. As the crowd began to disperse, Sophia and Marco found a quiet spot by the field. Marco, I'm really glad you came today, Sophia said softly. I'm glad too, Sophia. We need to talk, Marco replied, taking her hands in his. I want to clear up any remaining doubts you might have. Isabel is just my sister, nothing more. Sophia nodded, her eyes welling with tears. I know. I was foolish to doubt you. I'm sorry for pushing you away. Marco smiled gently. It's all in the past. What matters is that we're here now, together. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box. Sophia's heart skipped a beat as he got down on one knee. Sophia, these past months have shown me how much you mean to me. Your strength, your kindness, and your love for Mateo have touched me deeply. Will you marry me? Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She looked at Marco, her eyes filled with love and certainty. Yes, Marco. I will marry you. Cheers erupted from nearby as Mateo, who had been watching from a distance, ran over and threw his arms around both of them. We're going to be a family. Tears of joy streamed down Sophia's face as she hugged Mateo and Marco tightly. Yes, we are. A family. The days that followed were filled with a flurry of activity as they planned their future together. Sophia moved in with Marco, and they began blending their lives, filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their new home, watching the sunset paint the sky with brilliant hues, Sophia felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. This is everything I ever dreamed of, Marco, she said, her voice soft with contentment. And more, Marco added, squeezing her hand. We have a bright future ahead of us, filled with love and endless possibilities. The summer sun cast a warm glow over the familiar streets of Mateo's hometown as he drove through, memories flooding back with each turn. It had been years since he last visited, and today's trip carried a somber purpose. Mateo had heard from an old friend that Mrs. Ortega, the kind woman who had once gifted him his first football uniform, was in poor health. As he pulled up to her modest house, he felt a pang of sadness. The garden, once vibrant with flowers, now seemed neglected. Mateo knocked gently on the door, and after a moment, it opened to reveal Mrs. Ortega in a wheelchair, looking frail but smiling warmly. Mateo, it's so good to see you, she greeted him, her voice filled with genuine affection. Mrs. Ortega, I've missed you, Mateo replied, kneeling to hug her. I came as soon as I heard. How are you holding up? Mrs. Ortega sighed, her eyes betraying her weariness. I'm managing, dear. It's been tough since Lucas passed, but I get by. Mateo's heart ached at the mention of Lucas. He had been a close friend, and his loss was deeply felt. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Ortega. I wish I had known sooner. They spent the afternoon reminiscing, the old house filled with laughter and shared memories. But as the day wore on, Mateo's concern grew. Mrs. Ortega's health was clearly deteriorating, and he couldn't ignore it. Mrs. Ortega, have you seen a doctor about your condition? Mateo asked gently. She shook her head. Doctors are expensive, and I can't afford the surgery they recommend. Mateo took her hand, his determination solidifying. Let me help. You've done so much for me, and now it's my turn. Mrs. Ortega looked at him, her eyes welling with tears. I can't ask you to do that, Mateo. You have your own life and responsibilities. You're not asking, I'm offering, Mateo insisted. Please, let me do this for you. It's the least I can do. Despite her initial resistance, Mateo's persistence paid off. He contacted a reputable clinic in the city and made all the necessary arrangements. The next week, he returned to take Mrs. Ortega to the clinic, his resolve unwavering. As they arrived, Mrs. Ortega looked around, clearly overwhelmed. I don't know how to thank you, Mateo. You don't have to thank me, Mateo replied, smiling. Just focus on getting better. Using the sponsorship money he had saved, Mateo covered all the expenses for her surgery. Watching her being wheeled into the operating room, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. This woman had changed his life with a simple act of kindness, and now he had the chance to repay her. The surgery was a success, and after a few days of recovery, Mrs. Ortega began her rehabilitation. Mateo visited her daily, encouraging her through each step of the process. One afternoon, as they sat in the hospital garden, Mrs. Ortega looked at Mateo with tear-filled eyes. You've given me my life back, Mateo. I don't know how to repay you. You've already repaid me 100 times over, Mateo said softly. Your kindness gave me the confidence to chase my dreams. This is my way of saying thank you. As the weeks passed, Mrs. Ortega's health improved significantly. The crisp morning air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers as Sofia and Mateo walked hand in hand through the hospital garden. Beside them, Mrs. Ortega took confident steps, her face glowing with joy and gratitude. It's a miracle, Mrs. Ortega said, her voice trembling with emotion. I never thought I'd walk again, and now here I am, thanks to you, Mateo. Mateo smiled warmly. You deserve every bit of happiness, Mrs. Ortega. You've always been there for me, and I'm glad I could be here for you. As they strolled, Sofia felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey they had been on was marked by challenges and triumphs, and seeing Mrs. Ortega walk again was a testament to the power of love and perseverance. Later that afternoon, they returned home to find Marco waiting with a bouquet of roses. These are for you, Sofia, he said, his eyes twinkling with affection. And I have something else for both of you. Curious, Sofia and Mateo exchanged glances as Marco handed them an envelope. Inside was a beautifully designed wedding invitation. It's time we make it official, Marco said, his voice filled with warmth. The wedding was a small, intimate affair, held in a charming garden surrounded by close friends and family. Matteo stood proudly as the best man, his heart brimming with happiness for his mother. As Sofia and Marco exchanged vows, the air was filled with the promise of a bright future. Months passed, and life settled into a joyful routine. Matteo's football career continued to flourish, and his dedication on the field earned him recognition. One evening, as they gathered for dinner, Matteo received a phone call that would change his life. "Mom, Marco, you won't believe this," Matteo said, his eyes wide with excitement. "I've been offered a spot on an international team. They want me to play in Europe." Sofia's heart swelled with pride. "Matteo, that's incredible. You've worked so hard for this. I'm so proud of you." Marco clapped him on the back, beaming with pride. "You deserve it, Matteo. This is just the beginning of a new adventure." The decision to move to Europe was both exhilarating and daunting. As Matteo prepared for his new journey, Sofia and Marco stood by his side, offering unwavering support. They helped him pack, arranged travel plans, and made sure he had everything he needed for this next chapter. On the day of his departure, the airport buzzed with activity. Matteo hugged Sofia tightly, feeling a mix of excitement and nostalgia. "I promise to make you proud, Mom." "You already have, Matteo," Sofia replied, her voice filled with emotion. "Go chase your dreams. We'll always be here, cheering you on." Marco pulled Matteo into a bear hug. "Remember, we're just a phone call away. Stay focused and enjoy every moment." As Matteo walked towards the departure gate, he turned back to wave, his heart brimming with gratitude for the support and love that had shaped his journey. Sofia and Marco watched him go, their hearts full of pride and anticipation for what the future held. Life in Europe was a whirlwind of new experiences for Matteo. He embraced the challenges and opportunities that came with playing at an international level. His talent and determination shone through, earning him accolades and the admiration of fans worldwide. Back home, Sofia and Marco settled into a life of shared dreams and quiet contentment. They spent their days nurturing their garden, exploring new hobbies, and cherishing the moments they had together. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Sofia turned to Marco with a smile. "We've come so far, haven't we?" Marco nodded, taking her hand in his. "Yes, we have. And the journey is far from over. There's so much more to look forward to." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Sofia felt a profound sense of peace. Their lives had been enriched by love, kindness, and the unwavering support of those around them. With Matteo's success and their own dreams fulfilled, they were ready to embrace whatever the future held, knowing that together they could overcome anything. In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of their garden and the warmth of their love, Sofia and Marco knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter filled with endless possibilities. And with Matteo blazing trails on the international stage, their hearts swelled with pride and hope for the bright future that lay ahead.